thank you everybody for tuning in this week. If you enjoyed what you saw, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, Instagram. I think we still do TikTok, Twitter, all that good stuff.
Do
Make sure
we
to find us there.
do we do TikTok?
Anyways,
That is the question.
that is a good question.
That is a good
You know
question.
what?
I don't
You'll
have
have
an
to
answer
find
as the
out.
guy who
You'll have
does
to
TikTok.
find out for yourself. You'll have to find out for yourselves by following us on TikTok. So
Yes, there you go.
there you go. Anyways, shout outs and call outs for this week. This one was easy for me. The past couple weeks, I feel like I've had to come up with one on the spot. This one I saw and I was like, yeah, no, like I am angry about this. This is so fucking stupid. So it's my call out of this week, and that's for you. I know you're watching. Tom Brady, screw you, man. Like, what the heck is going on? Tom Brady was recently approved as the Raiders owner, or Raiders minority owner this week. So that's been in the cards for a while, but it just recently got approved. And, obviously that places a certain amount of conflict of interest with his big $375 million broadcasting job. So I ask this of you, Tommy boy, you're watching this in your, I'm sure, multi-million dollar home. Just Tommy boy, listen to me here. Do you need more money? Is this real? Do you need to become the Raiders owner? Do you need to make that investment, buddy? Because I say no. I say you've earned so much money over your football career. You're earning so much money as a broadcaster. Can't you just sit down and pick one? And this isn't just me being like, okay, yeah, the GOAT has too much. There is, serious repercussions to this because of the conflict of interest of it all. Here are the restrictions that Brady faces as an announcer because he is now also an owner. He is not permitted to be in another team's facility, not permitted to witness practice, not permitted to attend broadcast production meetings either in person or virtually, prohibited from, this is a big one, this is the one that I hate the most.
Yeah.
Prohibited from publicly criticizing game officials and other teams. What the fuck? Subject to the league's gambling policy, subject to the league's anti-tampering policies, limiting him to strictly social communication with members of other clubs. Now, that is a lot of restrictions, and this is not, I'm not blaming the NFL for this, because if I'm another team, no, I don't want the owner of another team to have access to my facility or be able to see practice. I think those restrictions are absolutely fair. It's completely on Brady for his decision to take on both of these things, because it just makes him a worse broadcaster, something that was already up in the air as to whether he'd be good or not. He's, again, shown steady improvement, but I don't think you can be a consistently good broadcaster throughout the entire regular season without having those things, without having the kind of access that everybody else does, because that's what makes some of the best football broadcasters, is in terms of having this inside information that you as an audience don't necessarily know about, being able to provide an insight into something. He doesn't have that. To be able to kind of be the voice of the fans in this instance when there's a bad call or when there's something a team does you don't like, that's some of the best content. But now we're just gonna have to get Brady just continuing to give out his whole grades. That was an A+ throw. That was a B throw. He's just gonna keep having to say it's an A+ throw because he can't criticize other teams.
Yeah.
I could go on and on about this. It's especially with Greg Olsen being gypped for this. Really, Fox, this is what you wanted. Brady, do better, man. Just do better.
Yeah. I think my take is I think the last one that you, and I know it's the one you focused on the most, that's the only one to me that actually matters, to be truthful. Not being in production meetings, I honestly can't say that I see how that's going to affect him as the comment. It's more importantly, the color guy. I don't necessarily see how that's going to impact him that much. I don't know if Tom Brady would ever be the color guy bringing you the insider. No, Tom Brady's not going to go all reporter and go talk to the head coaches and get all that. No, that's never going to happen. So for me, I think the only one that doesn't make sense is why, yeah, he should be able to criticize other teams. I don't really see how that changes now that he's an owner. Like, I don't get that to me. Like that one's weird to
Yeah.
me on the NFL's part, but the rest of them, I don't think
I
it's
think
gonna.
it's still on Brady. He knew that this was going
Yes,
to happen.
yeah, no,
And,
absolutely.
and
I'm not saying that it's not on him. All I'm saying is that I think that it doesn't, in the big scheme of things, matter that much. Like, he's just not like he's. It's funny. Like, you always hear the thing like an industry. Oh, what's the term again?
industry plant.
Yeah, an industry plant. You always hear that, right? Where there's no talent, the industry just wants them to get there. Tom Brady's that. He was never going. He has no reporting training. He was never going to be the Adam Schefter. Go walk up and go like, "What? Tell me what's going on." He was never going to have like agents in his corner, like filling him on this information. If he is doing that, someone else was going to be giving him that information anyway, right? So he actively doesn't need to be there. That's the thing
No,
to me.
I'm gonna push back on that. I'm gonna push back on that because no, it's not about Tom Brady being Adam Schefter. And that's not what any color commentator does. It's not just like pushing for the breaking news or trying to break a scoop or anything, but it's just having these conversations with the teams and getting kind of a view into the team's mindset going into the game. Like it's always that stuff where it's like you hear it on almost every other broadcast where they will point out something they've heard from whether it be a
Right, yeah.
production meeting with the player with the coach. Like it's not like Brady has to be a reporter in that instance. I just think it is a part of the job to be able to have a little bit of an extra insight that the audience doesn't, because otherwise what value are you providing? And I think we've seen that through the first few weeks where Brady hasn't really known what value he provides himself, where there's long pauses after a play happens where he doesn't give his analysis, where Kevin Burkhardt really has to like prod him along and prompt him. And you think that not having this stuff where like somebody makes a play and you can say like, oh, like they've been working on similar concepts in practice, or like, oh, Chiefs trick play. Mahomes and Reed were talking about how like they've done this in practice for a couple of weeks and they were wanting to see when they could pull it off in a game, like like stuff like that.
Brady
it doesn't
was
even
never
have
gonna do
specific
that.
example.
I have such a hard time
disagree.
believing it. I have such a hard time believing the fact that Tom Brady went into this job with the plans to do that. If that like it's just like
Well, then he shouldn't have taken the job, because I think
that
that
part
is a
I agree
pretty
with.
important
Yeah, no,
part.
like I think that I just have a hard time believing that like you don't bring in Tom Brady as a color guy to go chat it up with the coach. You bring in Tom Brady because he already knows it. They're paying him that amount of money because of the fact that he already knows it, even if he doesn't. Like I think that's the tough thing with Brady. We talked about it when we covered it, but like when he actually like for that first game with I'm losing my train of thought here, but with Brady, fuck, I completely forgot what I was gonna say. Holy fuck! Wow.
I will say, I will say to the point you were making there, is that you talk about, well, Brady doesn't have to do that. That's why I brought him in. Film study and knowledge of the game can only get you so far. It's obviously important, right? Like, that's a huge part of it. But a lot of it is the story beyond just what's on the X's and O's. Brady has the X's and O's down. Honestly, I might even flip it the other way to say, if there's anybody who needs the production meetings and the time with the coach just to get more background information, it would be Brady. Because yes, analytical, like fully just on the analytical side, when it's like there's a certain scheme or a certain design that needs to be analyzed on the spot, obviously Brady's going to have that down. But the greater context of the game, that's where it's going to be. That's where those production meetings come in. That's where that comes in. And not having that as a tool, like, I think that's a big thing. Even if you don't think it's important, to say like, well, maybe he doesn't need it, maybe he'll be fine without it, to just already limit yourself to any possibility of that is just ridiculous in your first year of announcing too. Like I just think it's stupid either way, because again, this is something Brady knew that this was going to be a problem, and he still took the ownership role. He still took the broadcasting role. You have to choose at this point. Like, it's making a worse product for us, the fans, because Brady's essentially selfishness. I'm not afraid to put it there. Like, Like,
No, that's fair.
your job and do it to the fullest extent. You don't get to slink out of it because you want to be an owner. That's just ridiculous.
All I'm saying, and the thing is, I think at the end of the day, me and you do agree on the fact that yes, it does impact it. And it is selfish. Like, I understand your point of fuck Tom Brady for all of this. Like, that makes sense. I understand that. But I have a hard time believing, like, this is something that's going to affect him down the road. Like, I think that sentiment is fair, but as of right now, I don't think it changes much. I have a hard time believing if Tom Brady is bringing up any of that info, I have a hard time believing it isn't just being fed to him. Like, that's more what I mean. Like, that's more
fair point.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And I think that Tom Brady, he will learn how to work with the cards he's dealt, and he'll still improve, even if he's not actively the person grabbing the information. That's kind of where I'm landing on it, where it's just, I get it. Like, everybody wants Tom Brady to be this specific type of commentator. I have a hard time believing he was ever going to be that, right? Like, I think if he was going to be good, it was going to be because of the fact that Fox knows how much is on this. They're going to give him every single resource they possibly can to make sure he gets better. I mean, fuck, he's doing a Super Bowl game this year. I have a hard time believing that Tom Brady is the only person getting Tom Brady information. So, at least to me, I think whether he's in those meetings, whether he is going and talking to the coaches, and whether he's watching the practice, it doesn't matter. I personally think that there's somebody before every single game handing him a big notebook filled with a bunch of shit, and he's reading it. And I think that at the end of the day, if he can learn how to properly take that information and turn it into a good broadcast, I guess I just don't really see why it matters where he's getting it, as long as he's giving you it. Right?
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. There's still something about it that rubs me the wrong way.
It should. Like, I agree with you in that sense, but it's just the fact, it's the shitty truth that Tom Brady was never going to be that type of, like, Fox probably saw this coming, right? Like, that's another thing.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, like, this was something that a lot of people knew was coming, right? Like, well, people have been talking about the Raiders thing forever. Like, it's not like this was just,
I don't
like,
think the specific restrictions were known.
But I think they should have known something was coming. And with how strict, especially with, I mean, I understand it's different. My knowledge of the landscape is very different in the U.S. Like, I don't know that as well. But I do know that with how strict journalism is in general, it's not surprising to me, and it shouldn't have been surprising to Fox, seeing how strict it is.
No. Yeah. No. I think we'll kind of wrap it up here, but I do think
we did like a mini segment.
Probably, I know. But in terms of like, they're probably feeding some information, and that probably gets some of it. But I think in that point you made kind of lies the heart of what I'm trying to say too. Is like, in order for Brady to succeed, as someone who you're making this huge gamble on, as someone who's never done it before, you need to give him every possible resource. And yes, bypassing it on, they're technically doing that, but they really doesn't have every possible resource. And then obviously there's the big thing that, because we've kind of both agreed on it, we haven't talked about, is the whole criticism of teams and officials thing. I think that'll be, we've talked way more about the other.
We are both on the same boat.
I think the criticism of teams, we're both in the same boat on that one, but I think we both agree that will have a much bigger impact. Either way, it's just completely stupid.
Like, he's just gonna sound like an idiot, because you can go, nice job, champ, you're killing it out there, but if you can't actively tell someone they're garbage, people don't want to hear it, because people get bored. Like, Tom Brady could be the best you know what, I will stand by this. I think you could give the best commentator in the world that rule, and they're going to struggle. Because at the end of the day, the first game might go well, the second game might go well. Hell, you might be calling a good game, but it doesn't matter. People don't want to hear it positive day after day. They want to hear about how a team's doing bad. Like, you can't just, like, ignore something because it's just, like, and trust me, I will say this, like, I will add on the fact that I have been told before in the past when working games to kind of, like, the pressure to avoid the negative stuff is there, right? Like, that does exist. And in a lot of a lot more often, I will look for loopholes instead of just avoiding it. Ways to talk about it
Yeah.
with a positive spin, right? Like, sure, they're doing
Yeah.
bad. This is a reason to look good at it, just so that I can bring up the fact that there is something bad. Tom Brady can't do that. Like, there is no loop around that. He cannot mention any type of criticism. Like, what I mean with the type of thing that I've done in the past, you bring up a criticism and then basically counter yourself, right? So that at the end of the day, it's a net positive in a way. He can't do that. Tom Brady's not going to be able to do that. So it's just it's gonna sound shit. It's gonna be ugly. Is my take.
Well, I mean, what's the biggest criticism of this point of the other big announcers out there, other than Greg Olson? What's the big criticism out there right now of Tony Romo and Chris Collinsworth? Is that they go crazy for Mahomes, and it's like, oh my god, like,
he's so good.
Oh, look at that gym. Look at that gym, you know, like, it's like, look at Mahomes, like, he threw it in the ground, but that was his plan all along, you know. It's like Brady. I think a lot of the potential from Brady. I watched a good YouTube video. I don't remember who it was by, but he made a point in terms of Brady's potential had a lot to do with, like, Brady in his playing career was intense and not afraid to pull punches, and he'll argue with a teammate, and he's so focused on success that he's willing to, like, do whatever it takes. But that part of him, that intensity that made him so special on the field, is neutered by this rule.
That's
and that's the biggest loss of it all. That's the biggest loss of it all, is that his biggest potential strength that he would have brought into this job has just been completely nullified by his selfishness to just want to be an owner. Yes. He's going to be forced into something that he's not.
Oh, he's so fucked. Because the second you get a mic in your face, the one thing that everybody tries to do is be something they're not, right? Like, that's the first mistake everybody makes. And it's he's gonna have to make a career out of that. That's tough.
And you can, like,
that's interesting.
Even in and even in the couple of moments that have stood out for Brady so far this season, where he's just kind of like, I think a couple of moments are, one was the Baker Mayfield thing, where that's really the first, like, big criticism Brady's had, at least that's gone past the broadcast, where he talked about how, like, you know, Baker Mayfield was like, everybody was stressed out of their mind, and Brady comes and says, like, if I wanted to have fun, I would have gone to Disneyland. So that was, like, one of his biggest moments, and it's a good quote. And whether you agree with it or disagree with it, it starts conversation, which, you know, is his job. And then the other part of it is just, like, the inherent reactions he has in the game too, where you can kind of hear him go, like, like, you know, like, it, because he's a football fan and you know, knows and loves the game so much, where you just know that there's, like, a little bit of anger coming out towards bad play. He's going to have to hold that back, and it's just like,
And at the end of the day,
it's such a big loss.
I think, and I said this, I'm pretty sure I said this when we covered, like, his first game. You want to feel like you're sitting on the couch with the commentators, right? You want to feel like it's a conversation in a lot of ways. Like, you want to feel personable. If you were watching, like, football, like, Caleb, imagine watching a Seahawks game with someone who, like, Geno has just thrown his 4th pick. Seattle is losing 42-3, and they go, get him next time, champ. Like, it's okay. It's just a bad game.
Yeah.
You don't want to fucking hear that. You want to hear that Geno's bad. You want to hear that Geno's struggling. Like, you don't. And those are criticisms, and they're fair ones. Like, I think that the loop around that, I think, the way that they should have done it, I think if they actually wanted Brady to succeed, and I know Fox had no say in this, and this is exactly why I think he won't, is if they were to put something in there like, I don't know, like, he's allowed to give fair criticisms, which is a weird gray area, right? Like, that is a weird bar to set. But, like, if you at least put in some sort of thing like that allows for a conversation at least, right? So that Brady, because, like, saying no criticism, just setting, like, that bar, he cannot say anything bad, just immediately, he's just going to be on edge the entire game, right? Because you can't even go, oh, that was a bad throw. Oh, that was a bad pick. Like, you can't even say that. You just have to shut up. Like you can't
Yeah.
like because you can't go like, oh, that wasn't his fault, because that's not true. It was his fault. You have to say that, right? Like someone's always to blame for something, right? And when you can't bring that up, what the fuck are you even supposed to say? So it's, I don't know. It's tough. It's gonna be a really tough go for him. But yeah.
It'll be a big test for him this upcoming Sunday. I mean, today for when this comes out, like you pointed out,
Today.
Super Bowl rematch. Everybody's going to be watching that. Everybody's going to be. He is calling.
Oh, I might have to watch that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. No,
It's gonna
I'll
be
be
Mahomes
watching it.
too.
It'll be the first.
Has Tom Brady called
Yeah.
one of Mahomes' games yet?
No.
Oh,
Well, because
are you
Fox
excited?
Is mostly
He's gonna be
NFC.
going. He's gonna be going. Jim, look at Mahomes. Jim.
Oh, I don't know, Jim.
Oh, I'm so hyped. That's gonna be so sick.
Oh my God.
Oh
Yeah.
That'd be great. Am I able to do my shout out now?
There we go. Well,
This is the longest outro
You-
ever.
this
It's
is-
okay. Mine's short.
I know. Yeah, we can actually like. That's like a whole nother segment.
I-
Like we said we
Caleb,
weren't going to do another one, but
I
that's
was
kind of like
I was thinking that. I'm probably gonna cut that.
Yeah.
In.
we
Make
can
it-
we can
make it so
cut
it's
that
segment.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, for my shout out, I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so I can get a bit closer to the camera and show you what I think. I will say I had my doubts going into this. I was thinking this is from last weekend, which I don't remember. Did we do an episode? We did. We did do an episode last weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is the first episode since Canadian Thanksgiving. And my family, we decided to change up something this year because no one wanted to cook. No one wanted to spend all day making turkey dinner. So we went, let's go to a restaurant. And we sat there trying to decide where we wanted to go. And we made a decision. Denny's. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Denny's turkey dinner, which is sitting right... I'm trying to figure out how much I can see here. It's right below me here. And you know what the funny thing was? I had my doubts. I thought it was going to be terrible. It was fucking delicious. That was great turkey, great mashed potatoes, gravy was great. Everything about that was absolutely terrific. So I just want to give my shout out, just as a bit more of a positive spin since we spent 20 minutes yelling at Mr. Brady. Thank you, Denny's, for making an absolutely excellent turkey dinner. And I don't know why the fuck they have that good of a turkey dinner. I also wanted to bring that up.
Damn.
Like, what the hell? Like, you'd think that there should be a rule against that. Like, why does Denny's make good turkey? They do. It was terrific. It was odd. So yeah, there you go. That's my shout out for this week. I don't really have a way to like zoom myself back out. That was like a one-time thing, so I think I'm just gonna have to end the podcast sitting like this. But yeah, anyway, there you go. That's my shout out.
Well, there you go. Denny's makes a great turkey dinner. Apparently, I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know either. I wouldn't have known.
Maybe I'll have to go. There's a very fancy Denny's in Vancouver that I think is a test kitchen that we go to all the time. It's the best Denny's I've ever been to. They have a fireplace in the bathroom. It's
what
sick.
the fuck? That is nuts.
Would recommend. It's very nuts. But speaking of people who probably make a pretty good turkey dinner, you know, Denny's makes a good turkey dinner. But no, even though the Denny's turkey dinner seems to have slapped
with an ass that warm,
and it's
with an ass that warm.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
You gotta think,
probably
right?
Cooks that turkey so fast.
Yeah,
you know, like turkey dinners.
I mean,
cooking a turkey is like a long and arduous process, but like this guy, he probably just takes a seat.
He might have
and it's
the best 2-minute drill in turkey history. Like one could say. One could say.
Absolutely.
One should say.
And it's like, and then the turkey is perfectly cooked after that.
Yeah.
Once that 2-minute drill is over, turkey it pops out of there. It's
done.
Perfect. It's good to go.
It's perfect.
And we all know who we're talking about. The man, the myth, the legend, someone we were all thankful for this Thanksgiving. And that is Michael Penix. And with that, Penix better have a warm ass. See you next week.